Hey there, folks. This is Tristan, Andrew, and Nick from the Check Engine Podcast. We wanted to introduce you to some tasty little morsels we call the Spark Plugs. These are little bits of information, car news, discussion points that kind of got the creative juices flowing, but weren't really substantive or interesting for us, at least enough to make it into the pace laps on our weekly podcast, but we figured we would want to bring them to you one way or another, so we are making these a little bit of a social media exclusive. They're not going to publish alongside our main podcasts. You'll be able to find them at least on Facebook and Twitter for now as little video files to have a listen to, but we're going to get started just talking about a few small things. Got about 10 minutes to do it. We're going to try to keep it limited in scope here. So Andrew, what do you got for us?
I got a hot one that you are just going to love. It's going to tear you apart on the inside. Audi has announced that there will be no replacement for the R8.
I don't want to talk about it. Next. Moving along.
There will be no replacement for the R8. Production will end in 2020. Everything is doomed. But...
Or is it?
Here's the thing. I love the R8. I don't love it as much as you. But I love the R8. I think it's beautiful. I think it's the car that, personally, I want of all the supercars out there. But this, I think, is good news. Because I think Audi's going to end the R8. They're going to come out with something, maybe call it the R9. And it's going to be like a hybrid supercar. It's going to be competing with the P1, the McLaren. It's going to be competing with the Porsche, the 918. And I think they're going to bring out a hybrid supercar. Oh, the LaFerrari. Oh, of course, the LaFerrari. And it's just going to blow all the doors off those things. It's going to be totally sweet.
Yeah, I would accept that. I would still be bitter at the loss of the last great iteration of that car. But I can see where we're going. Something that I've thought about, and Nick, I think you mentioned it as well. Do you think we're going to see hybrid? Or is it too late in the game for that?
My personal thought was whatever they come out with next once the R8 ceases is going to be... I'd be willing to bet it's going to be all electric.
Full electric.
Full electric. Because, the turbo hybrid diesel program that they ran in their sports cars was, technology that they pioneered, and they used the sports cars to get the technology transfer into their road cars. Now, if you don't know how that ended, go look it up. It didn't meet the greatest end.
We're talking Dieselgate.
Let's say the search term you're looking for is Dieselgate. I don't want to talk about it.
Just go there and start there and have a ball.
Unless you're me.
But so the point is, Audi has always been kind of on the forefront in pushing this technology, and they just completely shuttered the most successful sports car program in the history of sports car endurance racing,
which was those diesels,
to turn all of their attention to the all-electric Formula E series.
I forgot about that.
So I think with the money they're pumping into this Formula E and the battery development, they can use the technology in those Formula E race cars, blend it with their road car program, and kind of develop this in conjunction. I think they might come out with an all-electric, maybe not a hypercar, but an all-electric sports car that might just blow everybody away. There's already I believe it's pronounced Rimac, which is like the full electric hypercar. I don't know if it'll be on that scale.
Yeah,
but it might be challenging and blowing the doors off of that BMW is the i8.
Right, yeah, the i8, which also isn't coming back, by the way.
Yeah, they're done with that one.
So that's where I think they go. Just if you try, I guess, follow the paper trail, where's their money at right now? That's where I see it going.
I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, when you look at it too, it's something that there's a lot of hype around the market too right now. You've got electric car companies trying to outdo themselves with who can go from 0 to 60.
You're just talking about Tesla.
That's the only electric car company.
Tesla started it, but Rimac is doing it, and there are other ones that are comparing. They're all small or semi-failed like Fisker, but they are. That's kind of the hype on it, and I think that
backhanded jab at Fisker there.
Yikes! It happens. I think where Audi has a space is where they had the space with the R8. I mean, the R8 was, in my opinion, a fantastic car, but by no means, if you looked at any of the numbers, especially dragging around an all-wheel drive drivetrain, it's not the fastest, it's not the most expensive, it's pretty luxurious, but it's not the most luxurious. It's not the most of anything, but it's one of the most accessible. It's a, hey, I would like to, I'm some 16-year-old millionaire. I like to go get my driving license and buy a supercar. Mom, what can I buy?
I earned all my money in Bitcoin.
Yeah, and I think the R8 was something that was, a lot of the news articles at the time of its release was like, hey, I let my grandma drive this to go get groceries and she was fine, because it's a very accessible supercar that can also, you can drive the wheels off of it when you want to, and I think that may be something that Audi could have, where it's it's a very, very powerful, very fast electric supercar, but it's not going to be the blow your doors off creme de la creme, but they're going to sell, hopefully I would say, sell a ton of them. We're talking about like pricing, and if you price them 10,000 or something more than like the V10 R8 right now, and don't charge a huge premium for an electric version of the car, then I think you might be onto something.
Here's a question that I have though, and I genuinely do not know the answer to this. I'm not just hating on Formula E. Is actual development done in Formula E at all? Are they learning anything from this experiment?
From what I am aware of, the chassis is a spec chassis, so there's really nothing that can be done there. But the manufacturers are allowed to develop, I believe they call them the supercapacitors.
Sure.
So I think the actual battery itself is spec from somebody, and the chassis is spec, but the electric motors and the supercapacitors and those types of things, the manufacturers are allowed to develop.
So it's basically just who can make the most of a allotted amount of power in an allotted chassis, and then have a couple of those, because obviously you can't recharge electric cars in the time it takes to do a race.
Right. Well, I guess the new iteration of the car that's coming out, they're going to make, the goal is not have car changes. For those of you who don't know, when these guys come in for pit stops, they don't change tires or fuel. They actually get out and hop into a second race car.
Crazy.
One that's actually charged. But they're looking to do away with that. So they're looking to push that technology to run that much further, where they don't have to change cars during a race. So the development is there.
Okay.
And it may not be manufacturer by manufacturer as far as like batteries and stuff go. But yeah, I think when you're talking about drive lines, motors, things like that, that's where the manufacturers are doing it, and they're all going to benefit from the power delivery, whatever that might be coming down the line, lithium ion, even bigger capacitors, things like that. So yeah, I mean, I think if they are tied in to Formula E and they're learning as much as they can by being in Formula E, I think you're going to end up making better electric cars that go fast. At least, I mean, you may not get the next most economical electric car, but you're certainly going to generate one that puts down blazing numbers if you're paying attention to what you're doing in Formula E.
Right. I mean, yeah, not as a non-follower of the series. I did see it on TV the other day, and I immediately changed the channel because I didn't want to watch.
Yeah, that's kind of the trend. From what I heard, the attendance has been super low, and the people that did show up are tickets that are free.
I just think
it's not.
Yeah, and I think sticking to kind of what we were working from, we've got about a minute left, guys.
Oh God.
I think they're not in it necessarily for fans. I think they're mostly using this as a development platform, and hopefully we see some of the fruits of that.
Yeah, Audi's a good place to start.
Last question before we run out.
Absolutely.
Uh-oh.
Do car dealerships accept payment in Bitcoin?
I don't know.
That probably varies dealership by dealership.
We'll have to ask some 16-year-old millionaires.
If anybody knows, let us know.
Yeah, and then send us Bitcoin.
Please.
Sucker.
Lots of it.
Your money's fake.
Well, on that
note,
Andrew, that's the only thing you can call it. It's an Andrew. We're out of time, and this has been our first of hopefully a few interesting spark plugs that we're going to throw out there on social media for you guys.